So the other day, my 13-year-old, I'm making pancake by the way, just in case anybody is interested. My 13-year-old asked me, Mom, would you let me have a YouTube channel so I can express myself or my creativity, as it puts it? Or can I have a YouTube channel? And being the African mom, I didn't have to think twice. I said, well, yes, you can when you're 21 or 22. What's the reason for my answer? One, I'm African, we believe in education, but I kind of think also that it's right for us to believe in education. It's the first, it creates the foundation for all of our understanding. It creates the foundation for all of our knowledge. It creates the foundation for all of our creativity. And I know there's this age-old argument as to how Gen Z or Gen X or the most younger generation nowadays complain about how their African parents always tend to force them to go and read something or to go to university. There's a plethora of reasons as to why African parents believe so much in education, right to a fault actually. Let me continue my pancake and I'll come back to this. So I often find that the perception that an African parent insists that their children be educated is always down to poor communication and understanding between the generations, because it's always the older generations that seems as if they're forcing it and the younger ones are trying to resist it. Now, in addition to that, as Africans, we come from cultures where the memory of abject poverty is live, it's direct, it's vivid. So many people always try to correct their children's lives, what went wrong in their own. An example is that if they felt that they lacked affection when they were growing up, when they have children, they're trying to love them as much as they can. So if they feel that parental warmth and affection was lacking, they try to make their own children feel as loved as possible. If they feel that their own life was chaotic, they try to instill structure and discipline. And if they feel that the lack of money was the biggest problem when they were growing up that they faced, then they try as much as possible to make sure that money will not be a problem for their kids. So education is believed to be the fastest and the best way to get out of poverty, and in most cases, to stay out of it as well. In a typical African household, you will almost never hear the parents let their children study courses like photography, art and design, dance, and so on and so forth. Those are counted as hobbies by the wayside. The norm is to become a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, an engineer, and so forth. It's the same reasons why Indians and Asians do the same. They are just ambassadors and champions of education. So a lot of Africans saw their parents grow up in abject poverty, and I mean the slightly older generation, when meals were rationed, with long distance walk to fetch water for daily use, coupled with the lack of electricity and other basic amenities. And the difference between those who had money and who didn't was stark blatant. It was obvious. So those without money couldn't afford medication, running water, electricity, or even if it were available. The need, the drive, the desire to make sure one didn't end up as one of the poor was very, very strong. And so when people from such culture immigrate to a land of plenty, or so they thought, what they first and foremost want their children to have is not passion, it's not fulfillment, it's not self-actualization, it's money. And money usually comes from a stable job. That's their thinking and understanding. So when the time comes to give career advice, they tend to steer their children towards what they perceive to be well-paying jobs and professions. Some African parents support occupations such as doctors, accountants, engineers, or lawyers over others such as musicians or being a footballer, when actually being a musician or footballer can actually make you more money nowadays. So while prominent football players and popular musicians earn quite a huge sum of money, very few people are sufficiently gifted to succeed in those occupations. On the other hand, with a good education, many people can become doctors, engineers, lawyers, or other professions. And that's not to say they don't earn enough money. But nowadays, the future of work is changing. I'm going to insert a video I came across on TikTok the other day.
So a question I get after almost every keynote that I give is, how do we prepare our kids for the future? And my response always is it's not just your kids that you need to prepare, it's yourself as well. But let me give you some context. For 10,000 years, we were agricultural animals, and we had to follow certain rules. The rules were follow your forefathers, follow the seasons, and work 16 hours a day in the field, and you'll be successful. And for 10,000 years, this made us very successful as human beings. But about 200 years ago, when the steam engine arrived, the rules started to change. You see, our physicality became almost irrelevant. And we had to start to develop new skills. And the new skills and the new rules we had to follow were follow the system, the educational system, become analytical in your thinking, outcome-based in your thinking, and increase your IQ and knowledge. And so for 200 years, we've gone to school to learn this process of increasing our knowledge, our intelligence, and because of economies of scale and efficiency, being outcome-based and almost addicted to certainty in many ways. But now, as we move into this quantum future, we start to realize that the rules are changing again, because AI is now replacing our intelligence and our knowledge, just like the steam engine replaced our physicality. So the rules have moved from follow your forefathers to follow the system, to follow your uniqueness, to follow the seasons, to being analytical in your thinking, to becoming curious and fascinated with the topic that you are only curious and fascinated about. From working the fields for 16 hours a day to being outcome-based to today being dynamically creative. And so we've gone from PQ, physicality, IQ, intelligence, to now AQ, which is adaptability quotient. And what our kids need to start to learn, and even ourselves as adults, is how do you become as unique as possible in the way you perceive and bring impact to the world. You see, the currency of the future is our uniqueness. Fitting in is not something that is going to be celebrated. In fact, technology and AI is replacing everything that was rudimentary. Pattern repeating, pattern recognition, and pattern repetition is what technology does. What we have to start doing is developing unique skills that only we can apply to the world. And we are going to be celebrating our uniqueness moving into the future more and more. And today, it's called the creator economy. Creator economy is already worth $16 billion and growing. And so if your children want to be an influencer or a YouTuber, let them play and experiment, because what they're really trying to do is develop their unique personality, their unique brand. And this is really what's going to be celebrated as we move into the future. Ciao from Mexico.
Times are changing and will definitely continue to change. So the younger generation of African parents, probably like mine, even the first generation immigrants, parents are of a different school of thought. They're beginning to see and to realize that things are changing and the future of work is changing. So most parents, or should I be all parents anyway, whether they're African or not, they want their children to succeed, to be respected, to be financially able, to care for themselves in adulthood, because adulthood is really difficult. So many parents also want to believe that their children are smart. Believe that their children are smart enough and disciplined enough to achieve those academic goals. So these professions can provide the features of a happy life, but they're not a guaranteed way to a fulfilling life, which is what many people are after nowadays. But education gives them that great start. Part of it is this: school doesn't teach you everything you need to know. No. But that's what the internet is for, right? Let's make use of it.